Full disclaimer up front, I did not play the first Slime Rancher. I wanted to, but Steam backlogs are an absurd thing, and so is life. So if you're a Slime pro and want to know how the second game improves on the first, then flip to one of the thousands of other reviews out there written by fans of Slime Rancher 1. But if, like me, you're a ranching newbie, and you're wondering what all the fuss is about, then maybe those reviews that jump in at the deep end with talk of Largos and Ferals have you confused. If so, then stick around. I hope you find this helpful. I'll try to regulate the number of times I say the word cute in this review, but wow, those slimes are just so bloody adorable. Seriously, the main attraction here are the slimes. For amorphous, bulbous things with 2 eyes and a mouth, they're chock full of kawaii character. Not only do they look sweet, they have tons of personality communicated through joyful, buoyant animations, facial expressions, and curious behaviors. This game is so joyful, it's like taking happy drugs, only without the hassle of police knocking down your door. Play it, and you'll have no choice but to feel good, to wholesale buy into the infectious optimism that this game gives off. So just what is slime ranching? Think of a world full of absurdly cute and colourful blobs that you vacuum into tanks and then spit into corrals. To keep them happy, you feed them regularly, ideally their favourite food. Different slimes have different dietary and housing needs, but assuming you get it all right, they'll reward you by pooping. Slime poop's where it's at. Called plorts, these can be sold for the game's equivalent of cash. Different plorts from different slimes are worth varying amounts on the in-game world's free market. You'll reinvest the money you earn from selling plorts to buy new corrals, upgrade your gear, craft utilities, and make teleport stations to reduce the time it takes to traverse the map. It gets deeper too. You can combine slimes by feeding them plorts to create big mixed breed slimes that produce more plorts. What's even better is that the new slime, called a Largo, is bigger, there's more to cuddle, and they're visually unique, a perfect blend of 2 different slimes. When you think that there are already 13 slime types with more to come, and each can be combined with all the others to produce a different hybrid slime, the combinatorics start to become gobsmacking. Just be careful you don't do what I did and accidentally lose control of the slime mixing program, resulting in an outbreak that destroys your entire ranch and hours of work. What else? Well, there'll be a lot of exploring. The maps are initially shrouded in a fog of war and you'll need to find interfaces that will reveal the area. Running around is a whole lot of fun, and it gets even better when you unlock the jetpack upgrade, which lets you boost up and glide around for short periods of time. The maps are designed with a fair bit of verticality, so there's basic 3D platforming gameplay going on, although it's never terribly challenging, which is a good thing. There are 3 distinct feeling biomes, each populated with different types of slime. Dotted throughout the landscape are treasure pods for you to find and collect. Then there are massive slimes called Gordos that block your way and who can only be removed by feeding them so much of their preferred diet that they explode. Finally, there are other characters somewhere else who communicate with you remotely and help to pad out the backstory and make it feel less lonely. The environments are idyllic, unspoiled natural settings. Think mountains, lakes, waterfalls, seasides, all rendered in a beautiful painterly style with calming pastel tones. There's something so wholesome and relaxing about the entire experience that it's like a mental detox from the woes of the world. A special sheltered place just for you and your slimes to be content. Permit me a brief UI/UX nerd sidebar for a moment. The simple interface designs in Slime Rancher feel wonderfully juicy, tactile, and oh so satisfying to use. Budding interface designers take note. When you open a menu and swap to a different tab, watch how all the graphical elements pulse. Now maybe you don't actually care about how menu systems are designed, and it may not seem something worth caring about, but it's these small things that contribute greatly to a game's overall sense of polish, pizzazz, and pop. The liveliness of the interface correlates directly with the eager vitality of the game for an overall unified design aesthetic. And this aesthetic extends throughout the game. Take a look at the vacuuming animation. No, I mean really look at it, and do it a few times. Now imagine how much time they spent iterating on this until it felt just right. Because it's the core gameplay mechanic and something you do over and over again throughout the game, it's vital that it feels fun, satisfying, and repeatable. There are so many wonderful popping, bursting, splatting, and slurping sounds in this game, and they all help contribute to a world that feels malleable and touchable. Slime Rancher is definitely on the casual side of the action spectrum, but even so, the degree of difficulty is entirely up to you, with different options selectable before you begin and during the game. Tars are the main antagonist, a gooey black villain that randomly shows up and consumes other slimes. They're easily avoided or destroyed with a water cannon that you get later, but if you'd rather opt for a less stressful experience, you can turn them off. The same goes for ferals, ill-tempered slimes that can damage you. Don't like that idea? Turn them off. Finally, you can choose different damage multipliers for your player character. The only thing you can't do is turn death off. It's not death really, but it is just as stressful. If you fall in the sea at any point, you'll get knocked out, lose everything in your inventory, and respawn back at base a number of hours later. More often than not, this happens accidentally. This can be incredibly frustrating, especially if you've been out in the field for a long time and you have a bunch of elusive slimes and rare resources. For a game that is generally quite forgiving, this feels overly punishing, and it really snaps you out of the mental zone of tranquility in which you spend the majority of time. Later in the game, you can craft gear upgrades that progressively reduce the sting of falling in the sea, but by that time, it's likely you've already succumbed to this frustrating reset an unreasonable number of times. It's disappointing that you can adjust the difficulty in so many well thought out ways, but you can't make it a truly casual, cozy experience, free from the requirements of skill and dexterity. Slime Rancher claims to be in early access, but you wouldn't know from playing it. It looks to be mostly feature complete, it has a ton of content to explore, and it feels very well polished. I didn't encounter any crazy bugs, and the game feels very stable overall. The main game element that seems to be crimping early access is an economic one, not having enough sinks for your money. Initially I struggled to get my cash flowing, but once I figured it out, I had more money than I had places to spend it, so it seems that this will require some balance and additional content before it feels right. On the technical side, it's likely they need to spend some time optimizing the game, and admittedly this is usually one of the final things that happens once the game is feature and content complete. I played the game on medium master graphics settings with PC specs that I've posted below, and although it was mostly a smooth 60 FPS, there were plenty of times when the frames dipped to 35 to 45, and the gameplay lagged quite severely, especially when it seemed to be buffering new areas or where there was a lot of slimes around. On their Steam store page, the developers are promising that over the next 18 months, they're going to continue to deliver a whole lot of content, including more slimes, new biomes, and the completion of a full story. There's already at least 15 hours of fantastic gameplay here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what additional stuff they can bring online as they coax this game out of early access. When I worked in video games, we often talked about the secret sauce to making good games being to find ways to surprise and delight players. That's something that sounds obvious, but it's often hard to realize. If you want good examples, Nintendo's first-party games generally do an excellent job of this, but as PC gamers, we don't see as much of it. Slime Rancher, though, has both of these in metric crap tons. It realizes a special kind of fun that reminds you of what it's like to be a child, worry-free, and indulging in pure, unashamed escapism.